Hello, you are listening to the award-winning To Hull and Back podcast, proudly sponsored by Old Zoological Bar and Kingfisher Quality Fish and Chips. Last few episodes, I think the intro has been pretty good. I got caught in two minds. I thought, should I say to rock bottom and back or something like that? But I didn't. I didn't go for it. I'm your professional host, Nathaniel, and tonight I'm joined by Joe and Will to discuss more misery.
Hola.
Yeah. So we do have a new manager, but to be honest, in all our notes and the things that are actually interesting to talk about, I don't think the manager's one of them. We've got a new manager. We don't need to talk about Volta anymore. We're heading towards, Christmas. Can one of you or someone in the comments give me one good reason to not be totally depressed at the moment?
We got the managerial appointment we wanted for the most part.
City have released that tiger print shirt again.
Oh,
I'd say there's one good reason out of those two. I guess I'll take that. As you can tell, I'm not too happy with things. I was not too happy last week, but I was hoping for a new manager bounce, and we haven't got one. Tiger print, that's fun.
2 games. That's a new manager. That's a new manager bounce. That's better than we've done all year.
Yeah, scored 2 goals. We've not been completely tonked, although we could have been. Where should we start?
Should we start with the outro and just leave?
Yeah,
Listing
I'm happy to do that.
Bye.
Yeah.
No, we should probably start with the midweek game, to be quite fair.
Yeah, so I didn't see this, but I watched the highlights. It looked like we had quite a few chances, especially second half. Maybe a little bit more optimistic than, recent weeks.
It was probably the best we've played all season. Second half, especially in particular. We did deserve 3 points, to be fair. We was unlucky, I think, in the end of it, but unsurprisingly, old habits die hard.
Yeah. Agreed. Best we've played all year. Even though we didn't have as much of the possession, it felt like we had more because we went forward with it. There was purpose to our possession play, what we had of it. It wasn't just knocking it about the back like we've done for most of the season. We actually tried to get forward with it. Little flashes from Kamara. Alzate looked good. And then Chris Badia scored goal of the season by standing in Marvin Malam's way when he shot and it bouncing off his right leg onto his hand and past Dan Backman. What a goal.
I mean, since, a very long time, that's the first bit of luck that we've had in this sort of spell where we've had
it was nice, wasn't it?
Feels good. Although it didn't last long, did it?
No, it looked like we got torn apart for the goal. I know people have been saying Slater or someone else should have taken out the was it Varta or the winger running down the wing. But yeah, looks like we probably should have done that. Maybe a bit of naivety there, especially last few minutes. You go 1-0 up, 83rd minute. Even though you've not got much confidence, you need to be, seeing out that last 10 minutes or so just to get the win on the board. Not the start Sellés would have wanted, but a point on the board, it's not too terrible. I think it just shows with the chances we had, maybe it's just the players, especially
lack of confidence, I think, is a lot of it. And some of them maybe not possibly being good enough to keep us up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that the German has gone, the problems beneath him have been laid bare, I think. And this squad is better than what Tim Walter was getting out of it. Is it anywhere near last season? No, but it's better than what he was getting out of it. How much better is the question. And, Rubén Sellés has been in the job about 10 days. And there's not a lot you can do. You can't turn a team's fortunes around in that time. You have to start a process. But he needs a big January. He needs a good January. And we're in a league where we're after a striker who can score goals, a winger or two who can chip in with goals, Adjan wants another holding midfielder, and we'll probably need a left back as well. Where our top targets in all 4 of those positions will be the top targets of 23 other Championship clubs. If so, we're bottom of the league, so we are probably the least attractive of all those clubs because of where we are. Unless Sellés can work a miracle, and somehow manage to use his football language and sell his style to try and get some of these players in that we want, then we could be in for a very, very tough second half of the season as well. And I see Simon's put a clear out in January needed. It's not. I think we need to avoid a clear out because then that's another rebuild. That's a rebuild for what is 6th transfer window out of 7 under Adjan?
Something like that. Certainly not far off.
22, Jan 23. Jan 23 wasn't. Summer 23 was. Jan 24 might as well have been. 4th rebuild out of 6 transfer windows under Adjan. Yeah, that's just...
It's a lot. We're just constantly rebuilding after the last scattergun window. I mean, I think when I said at the start, give me one good reason, I'm hoping someone said, the transfer window, because then I could jump on them and say, that's ridiculous, because we had a transfer window in the summer and we are complaining about all the players we signed are rubbish. So why would the recruitment necessarily be better now than it was then when we're in the worst position?
Jared Dublin was impressive in that first press conference that Adjan, Rubén Sellés and him did together. It's the first time we've got to see Jared, regardless whether it's in his head of recruitment role or his new sporting director role. And he was impressive. So it begs the question, will we see more of him?
I would like to hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Of course, we had Tan Kessler, who we'd rather put out to the press than Adjan with the sort of things he says. So now I'd much rather have Jared Dublin answering the questions than Adjan still.
He's possibly the first American accent I've not got annoyed at listening to.
Yeah.
Because he how we said Tan was Adjan's moderating influence. Jared Dublin is that, but knows English football inside out. He's worked at Stoke, he's worked at Sheffield United, he's worked at Reading, and he wouldn't have been able to do anything in the last transfer window just because of the time he came in. He came in mid August. But at that point, all the planning for the transfer window is done. All he can do really is get told, right, these are the list of players. We're close to a deal on that one. Help us get it over the line. So when he's actually a bit more hands-on and being able to be part of the planning as a head of recruitment first and then as sporting director, he's cause for very, very cautious optimism, I think.
I think the only optimism we are allowed to have at this point is extremely, nigh delusional optimism, because we are rock bottom for a reason. I mean, I'm seeing comments here. The team is good enough to stay in the league.
It is. It is a good enough team to stay in the league. I'm sorry, it is.
Maybe scrape 21st, but it's run off up front.
The difference is, I would argue, we've had teams before who were good enough to stay up in leagues, not done so.
In the
You've got to do is look at, I mean, were Birmingham too? You wouldn't have expected Birmingham to go down at the start of last season, would you?
Yeah, well, not
no,
because they made a good start.
Season, they had John Eustace and they'd got to fifth by they were fifth at Christmas.
Well, precisely, but that's not at the start of the season, is it?
Would you have
said Birmingham have always been a team you'd expect to go down the last few years, 10 years or so. But
would you have
after about a third of the season, sure.
At the start of 1920 with Bowen and Grzycki, obviously, you wouldn't have expected us to go down. But
I'd say the team we had at the end of that season probably definitely wouldn't get out of League One, because they actually made some really important signings. When we did go down, we probably had a better squad on game 1 in League One than we did game 46 in the Championship.
Well, if I don't want to say if we go down at this point, because a couple of
we
wins,
have to start accepting it. We have to start discussing the possibility.
Right. And a couple of wins does sort of get us a bit. If we'd have stayed, if we'd have held on to that lead against Watford, we'd have been 20th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And that's immediately outside the relegation zone. So it is very tight, and a couple of wins will get you some way out of it and get us and breed confidence a bit more in the players, in the staff, and in the fan base. But when we went down to League One, that was the making of Jacob Greaves, Keane Lewis Potter. And those players out of our academy went on to command massive fees. And this is what I was saying to you two before we started the show. The biggest, I'm sure we'll talk about adjun and what have you, because we seem to always do that at the minute. That's just the way things are going. But the biggest failing of this last year for me is we have no way now to make money to reinvest. We sold Greaves and Philogene very early in the window, arguably / definitely undersold them. And the argument for doing that early was so we could get our business done and get their replacements sorted with cash in the bank. But we then proceeded to not do our business early and instead only signed one player in July and had 5 in by the time the season started. You know the story. And, Greaves, we've got a massive profit on, obviously. We got all profit there because he's academy. Philogene, 5 million bought him for, sold for 18, knock off Villa's sell on 13 million. That's 8 million profit. Keane Lewis bought about 18 million, same again. Where are we going to make money like that from now to sail us through with FFP? Where's that money going to come from? Because we can't sell Balumion, who's arguably been the most impressive, because he's out for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Hughes, no. I mean, as good as he's been, he's not won a game with us yet. In a game he's played, we have not won. So no team is going to want to pay in excess of what we paid for Charlie Hughes.
Because we paid quite a fee for a player from League One, I'd say.
We did. Then there's Panda, who's been good, but even though I said this before as well, even though he's done well and has been the reason we've stayed in a lot of games, we're not going to get more than the 1.5 million we paid for a goalkeeper who's kept 1 clean sheet all season. And then the other player, arguably, we could have made a profit on if we'd have signed him, was Zambrano, but he's banned. So we can wipe that one off the table. And if anything, we're going to lose more money on that because we're going to keep paying his wages and we might end up signing him still, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's no way we can make a profit on any player in this first team squad now at the moment. And there's also no chance of us making absolute gross profit on an academy product, because even though this is the best the 21s have been for a couple of years, and it's the best under 18s cohort we've had in my memory, none of the 18s who are impressive can't get into the 21s, because the 21s are stuck in the 21s, unable to break into the first team, because the first team is clogged up with players who aren't good enough on bigger wages, who we brought in a scattergun panic recruitment window in this summer. And the squad is simply just too big. So there's no chance of a player like Harry Vaughan, Tyrell Sellers-Fleming, who are playing well for the 21s, getting in that first team form now, because the squad's just too big. So the only silver lining, if we were to go down to League One, is it was the making of Greaves and Lewis Potter. The mass exodus, inevitably, of any player on big money means Harry will probably get another chance. Stan Ashby might be able to bleed through. Tyrell will be able to bleed through. because I'm confident they could make the step up to League One level. So if there's any positive to take from the situation we could find ourselves in, plausibly, because we are bottom of the league, we've got to recognise that, like you said, Nathaniel. If after 46 games we are still in this bottom three, that's the only silver lining, potentially reopening that pathway from the academy through to the first team that has closed massively since Adjan Ilagella took over 3 years ago.
And we'd be able to finally spend some money, like Birmingham have done.
Well, that's alternatively. He could just block that pathway more and go, balls to it. We've got a year off FFP and I hate it. Let's just spend, which would be very, very silly.
And I wouldn't have thought that we'd be able to sign players with big sell-on value like Philogene in January. I mean, to go back to your previous point, the players we'll be signing in January will probably be players who've not done hugely well elsewhere, or young players on loan.
It'll be loans again, and there's no in January. Chances are we're not going to be able to get a player who can score goals for us or impact the game for us up top like Liam Delap did. We might go to Man City and say, look, we need a young striker on loan. Have you got anyone of Liam Delap's profile who was so good for us last year? Man City might
probably say, well, you haven't played Burns, so go away.
They could say that. Or equally, they could say, right, we've got this lad, he's 18, it is going to be his first loan out.
That's a big risk, isn't it?
That's a massive risk. We saw with Burstow at Sunderland last year, he scored 1 goal. If we're bringing a player in who's raw, never had a loan before, never played senior football before, in January, and trying to bank on them scoring us enough goals to get us out of this fight, it's a massive, massive, massive risk. They might turn out to be Lamine Yamal, but they equally might turn out to be Freddie Adu.
Yeah. Well, you've not said anything in a while.
I think it's hard to say exactly where we're going to be at this point in the season. Obviously, it's not good, but we need to give Rubén Sellés a bit more time before we decide we're going down. We need to see a bit more of his style imprinted on the team after a few more games, so I'll actually have a proper idea of where we are. And like Joe said, if we'd get those 2 points from Watford that we lost, we'd be outside of the relegation zone. It shows you how tight the Championship actually is at the moment. So while it's easy to be all doom and gloom, and I'm happy to be all doom and gloom all the time, there is clearly a light there that you can reach if you just get a couple of things right. But it's whether or not they can actually do it, because the team just looks completely unable to respond to any sort of setback whatsoever.
I can't remember who said it in the comments. I'll scroll up a little bit, but someone said, well, it would be funny if... Oh, yeah, Coxie said, imagine if it wasn't Walter's fault and the team is actually just really bad.
It was definitely... A lot of it was Walter's fault.
He definitely
so I wouldn't even start with that one.
But it's been 4 games, and obviously they don't have the confidence, but it's been 4 games, and I think we have looked a little brighter, a little bit more energy. I've only seen the Coventry game. I didn't see the Watford game. So my view is definitely coloured by that. And none of the criticism here is on Sellés. And obviously we'll give him the time.
He's inherited this, right? He's had a week in the job and he's inherited this. There's nothing he can do to impact how this squad looks until we get to the end of this month. And then he's got a month where he can hopefully try and do things and have a bit of money to spend, but it's whether he can spend it on any players that are our top targets for these positions. That's the thing. And well, just moving on to Coventry slightly, I've seen a lot of comments about Louis Coyle, and there's been a lot of Coyle scapegoatism, I think, on Twitter.
It's half returned.
It hath indeed returned. Will. And Don Carter's put in there, need a midfield general as captain. Now, there's obviously, Ian Ashby in there and that sort of the glamour, let's say, of Ian Ashby as captain. Not so much glamour, but the sort of how glorified he is, because he is a club legend. But Ian Ashby, like Louis Coyle, in his first few years at Hull City, got an awful lot of criticism. And did Louis Coyle have a poor game yesterday? Yes, he did, 100%. Did he look defeated under Tim Walter? The man who looked like he could never be broken was broken by that Sheffield Wednesday game. But the ability of some people to forget just how good he was last season, that if Jacob Greaves didn't exist, he would have been our player of the season. That he's a captain from this area who cares about the club, and he's the sort of figure on the training ground that all new players get sort of help to be integrated into the squad by. Like Ozan Tufan spoke about how Louis Coyle went out of his way to make sure he got settled and his family got settled, and how much that meant to him, and how he tried to do the same for tried to do the same for Abdush when he was settling in. The fact people saying he's not captain material and he's useless at football, he's a League Two player, get him sold immediately, he's crap. There's just the fact that all of last season has been forgotten, and how everyone was praising him last season. The first 5-10 games of this season, how he carried that on. He's the one player who you can point to every single game who always gives 100% plus every single week. And as fans, you can't fault that. Is he allowed a bad game? Yeah. But all of the players had a bad game.
He's had a few, though, to be fair, this season. My thing is, with it, people seem to have forgotten how much of a shit show Cody Drama's been recently, and they're happy to fucking drop Kyle for him.
Yeah. I think it just shows how much trouble we're in. Because maybe you want to drop Coyle, so you put Drama at right back. It means Giles is still going to be playing left back, and Giles has also been garbage. I thought pretty much everyone had a bad game against Coventry, bar Panda. I thought Coyle did not get helped by Sellés, by not giving him support. He did not get helped by whoever was playing on that wing at the time, coming back to help him. I think Mason Clark skinned him pretty much every time he got on the ball. And maybe sometimes you say, yes, you're the captain, but you did have a poor game. We don't want that to happen again. Maybe take him out the firing line, out of the way of criticism for one match. But then equally, Drama has been quite poor. So
but Drama's
you sign another right back.
So we're in this weird situation where, last season's Louis Coyle was unplayable, but Cody Drama has been brought in, hasn't actually played in his favoured position this year, as Enshep said, apart from maybe a few good minutes that I might be forgetting. And Louis is the captain of this football club, and there's a reason that consecutive managers have kept him as captain, and he was fantastic last year. And he's a
last year, though, isn't it? Christie was fantastic his first season, and then second season, every single player went past him. I don't think anyone is free of criticism just because of the captain. And
no, I think the amount Coyle's getting is unfair when you consider he's
how poor the entire team is playing.
Yeah, there's a wider point
playing, and the fact he's the only one for a lot of this season who's seemed to give a fuck.
Yeah, I think it's a wider thing. You look at Slater, you look at Jones, you look at Coyle. These players that we rely on have been around the club quite a while. Slater's been poor, Jones has been poor, Cole's been poor at times. There's a very few amount of players, and even Hughes has made his mistakes this season. I think Panda is the only one that I think has been. I don't think any of the goals this season have been his fault, particularly.
Derby.
Yeah.
When he tried to come for that cross when he was never going to get anywhere near it.
Compared to Allsop, though, it's chalk and cheese. Of course, he made it's always great to save a penalty, but it wasn't a particularly well struck penalty from Torp. Was it Torp yesterday?
I think so.
Yeah, he made some great saves in that game. But they just needed a win. They needed a little bit more luck like they had with the Bedia goal, because I think that will just give everyone a lift. And we've been teased over the last 5 or 6 games. If we just had one more win, we'd be out of the relegation zone. And I think if you're out of the relegation zone come January, maybe more people want to join. But just every single game, it's another possibility lost. And I do see the comments that, well, to stay up, we do have to go on quite a good run. I'm just not sure that a team's good enough to go on that prolonged run. So what else did happen in the Coventry game? The first half, I thought it was shocking. We got a goal, nice bit of play from Kamara. And then the second half, I think Burstow came on. He did relatively well. And then some more poor finishing. And I think Coventry could have had 4, 5, 6.
Oh, they could have had more. Easily could have had more. We deserve to lose, definitely.
100%. Deservedly lost.
Yeah. I just want to go on to Abu Kamara there. And he's a frustrating one.
Yeah.
Because you see his cross against Middlesbrough. You see his cross for Malem against Watford. You see the ball for Longman, who headed it onto the bar, then Pedro finished it. You see these little glimpses and you think there's a player in there, but why don't we see it all game? He just seems to be a passenger and doesn't care much for a lot of the game. But I think a lot of it is confidence as well. He's a young player who's been playing under a manager who's sucked the confidence out of every single player in that group. It's going to take him time, but I think I don't know what's the right way to say what I'm trying to say. I think we're justifiably frustrated, but there's something in there. It's just it's a confidence thing.
He's not quite Philogene. I think it's quite difficult. Not everyone sort of likes the pressure, because I think we pretty much spent a relatively comparable amount, similar profile players, Kamara and Philogene. Philogene clearly could handle that pressure and be the sort of star boy of the club and accept that, whereas I think Kamara is sort of hidden away from it somewhat, so it can be very difficult. But
they are very different characters as well, though. Philogene was sort of quiet. You could tell he had a little bit of he was a bit more extroverted, I think.
Yes.
Than Kamara is, and that I think that's evidenced in how they play on the pitch. Philogene was expressive, and he wouldn't be scared to try and do some mad skill and take out 3 players with it, whereas Kamara would rather stop and look at who's either side of him and play the ball off.
Yeah, he does look scared to try things, though, unlike Philogene. And of course, he's not going to Rabona pass anyone anytime soon, is he? Yeah.
It's blood sucking, isn't it? Supporting him at the minute. We're saying the same things every week on here. That's why we're half an hour in and we're just thinking, right, what can we say next?
I can't believe that. I mean, I know we've missed a lot of chances, but I think if you based it on not just expected goals, but like all the other stats, I think some stat I saw that we should be about 12th. Maybe that is just based on expected goals. But I think that proves that it's the quality in both boxes, as Paul has just commented in there. That's the reason Stephen G. But on the wrong wing, Philogene didn't out. Well, Kamara's been...
Philogene went missing a lot, but funnily enough, he wasn't scapegoated. Just worth mentioning.
No,
as
but of
a
course,
fan base,
you
we have a
wouldn't though.
tendency to scapegoat players, don't we? I think every fan base does to an extent, but we do an awful lot.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's been scapegoated this year because you could say, 6 or 7 players have been
Coyle.
scapegoated. Yeah, but I'm saying Giles has been awful. I'm saying Jones has been awful. Slater's been awful. Mellon's been awful. The strikers don't score enough. People will say Longman's rubbish. Kamara's rubbish. That's the whole team. So they can't all be scapegoats. So I just think generally they've been poor. Maybe Cole gets a little bit more, but yesterday he was. I think you could see, because the pressure was on him with how Mason Clark went past him. You could see that out of all the players, maybe Giles didn't have a good game, but it was Mason Clark who played so well, so it stands out more that Kyle had a poor game, and thus people would criticise him more than Giles, even though Giles didn't do anything all game either. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Simon's comment there. Seri's been our biggest loss.
Maybe
the fact
bit of control
sacrificed Seri for the sake of Tim Valter not wanting a number 6 who always liked to touch the ball.
Same with Oscar, perhaps. Oscar's got more goals than anyone this season. He's moved to Mexico, of course, but the goal scorer would have been nice.
The fact Chris Badia is our joint top scorer with 3, and one of them came off his hand and one was a penalty is shocking.
Tap in against QPR as well, of course, got to be in the right place. But
I mean, Pedro, he's had a tap in and 2 good headers.
Yeah, I think Pedro, I quite like him. He could have had a few more, but he's not doing terribly for a player that you sign in September as a free agent.
He's just paggered. If he was 4 years too young, he was 4 years younger, he'd score 20 odd goals in this division easily. This footballing brain, I say it every week. I've been saying it for weeks. It's absolutely immaculate. It's second to none. Some of the runs he makes, you can see the way he presses, but his legs just don't let him do it. He needs, like I said it last week, he needs to start half a yard offside and hope championship linesmen just don't notice.
And I think running's quite important skill in football. So it's a shame he hasn't got that anymore.
To an extent that Pedro was a poacher as well, can't you? When he was at his peak, and that's why he scored so many goals in Italy.
Yeah, it's better than Betty Sharp at least.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. Well, how important will the 3 weeks training be before the Swansea game?
The 3 weeks training, I think it'll be massively important because it'll give Sellés more than a couple of training sessions to actually start implementing what he wants to do with them.
It'll be his first proper time, won't it, to implement these things? So I think in the interviews he said that he's just the difficulty's been trying to keep the messages simple, whereas maybe over a week you can get a little bit more complex. And of course, the time he's had with the Watford game being midweek, you've got some players who've played and they've been tired. Not all of them have been there an equal amount of time to, pick up on these things. So, yeah, I'd like to think that will be important. I don't know why we have so many games at 12:30 nowadays. I don't really understand.
Sky.
Do they even get that much money from the games being on the red button, though?
Probably not.
No, strange.
But Sky got a Sky.
Yeah, they certainly do. Yeah. Simon says Pedro would be a good striker coach. I mean, it's a bit harsh. He is our top goal scorer this season.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop him just to be a coach, but
well, Chris Badia is also our top scorer this season. I want him gone in January.
Yeah. So many people have said that all of the loans should go back and that we need to clear out in January. I'd like to think that, because I'm sure it's probably quite equally as difficult to sell a player as it is to sign one. I imagine there's still quite a lot of paperwork and trying to find a club where they'll be happy. I'm sure that's part of it.
And end a loan, right? Because unless it's a recall, It's got to be a mutual termination.
Yeah.
Although, I think Rushworth stays now just because of who he is. seen him yet. Puerta showed flashes in his first 3 games, but since then's hardly done anything. Zambrano's obviously banned, but they're the 3 that are likely to be kept on. I think Badilla will be shipped off faster than you can say his name. And Finn Burns even more so.
Yeah, precisely, because we need to free up a little bit of money.
The fact Finn Burns
space.
didn't even travel says quite a lot. When Andy Smith had a shirt hung up in the dressing room, Alfie Jones was on the bench, yet Finn Burns didn't even travel. I think that tells you what situation he's in at the club at the minute.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Jarvis, as I talked about young players earlier, we're talking about like Burstow. Let's talk about Burstow and Jarvis together, shall we? I understand. I want Burstow to start. I do. But I don't understand people saying play him out wide in place of either Longman or Kamara when A, he's not a winger, and B, all we've done for the last X amount of time is say stop putting square pegs in round holes and play players in their actual positions. So I think Burstow, if he's going to come in and start, needs to play up front.
He does.
And then it's absolute. That for me is a non-negotiable. Don't even think about putting him on the wing. He did all right against, was it West Brom when he played on the wing? But you could tell he was not a winger fundamentally. And he said that he said after Borough when he scored his goal, Tim Walter saw him as more of a winger, but he knows himself he's a striker. So that should be your indication. Play him up front. That should be that. And for Jarvis, well, if you want to drop Longman for somebody, which I know a lot of fans do, Nathaniel, you're not one of them. Give Will Jarvis a go then, because Sinnick's not fit. Shock. Balumi Miller injured. If you want to drop one of either Longman or Kamara, the obvious choice is to put the actual winger in the winger position, right? On his strong side, which is the left, because when he played on the right against Alanyaspor, Sheffield Wednesday, Shock, he didn't do a lot because it's not his strong side. Against Alanyaspor, Tim Walter put Kamara on the left, his weak side, Will Jarvis on his right, his weak side. Even though it's a friendly, play them on their strongest sides, for goodness sake.
Walter really didn't like playing Kamara on the right, did he?
No, absolutely not. So you've got to give Jarvo a go. Got to give Jarvo a go for me.
Yeah,
and I will die on this hill until he gets a chance. And run of games.
I don't know if Amir actually played against Watford, but he didn't come on at all against Coventry. I think you're looking as someone who's won Turkish Super League, probably on quite a high wage, and we're rock bottom of the league. Burstow and Bedier actually played on the wing for like 5 minutes ahead of you as Amir. Jarvis has played, Longman has played. I think Amir will probably be first, out the door in January. I'm not sure Sayers likes him too much. He's not done anything this season, and he'll probably think, I'll have to go back to Turkey.
Sinnick should do the same in theory, but Adjan won't want to cut him loose.
Adjan might not want to sell Amir, but he should do because he's not done anything all season.
Like Sinnick and Amir will be our highest earners.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to free up some money. Those are the first two.
If we free up some money, we can command a transfer fee for Abdush Amir easily. He's still got 2.5 years left on his deal, plus an optional extra year. Sinnick's only got 6 months plus an option, so we're not in a position to command anywhere near 4 million for him, which is what we pay. I would genuinely take a packet of biscuits for Gökhan Sinnick at this point, just to get his wages off the books, because he'll
less brittle.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say anything more crumbly than Sinnick. Yeah.
He will be. God, this is depressing, isn't it? He'll be our highest earner now. He'll be on 25-30 grand a week, and he's played 13 games in 3 seasons.
Well, talking about Turkish attacking midfielders, Ben here comments thoughts about the rumours of Tufan coming back. I mean, I think it's nonsense. I haven't actually seen an actual rumour. I've seen a rumour that maybe Besiktas want to sign him. Obviously, we would take one of last season's top goal scorers back. Someone we really liked and better than pretty much
Anyone else
we've got at the club. If we signed Tufan, would that make him immediately the best player at the club? I think it would.
Yes.
I think so. So yes, obviously I would take Ozan Tufan back. Why would he come back though? I don't really see the point of that. Bored. Yeah. Just become a club legend. Keep us up.
The Humber Street again.
And he'd immediately become our top goal scorer. I'm sure he'd bang them in. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure about that because no one bangs them in at the minute.
Well, not with any chances. True. I mean, that chance Burster had at the end, he'd gobble that up.
Oh yeah, Burster. I mean, it's not a guaranteed goal because it's outside the box, but you've got to at least get it on target and test the keeper.
That is as presentable as you get, bar like a tap in, isn't it? It's the way it, perfect angle and the weight of the pass. Just you've got time to set yourself, strong foot. You're a striker. That sort of chance is what you do 100 times, a day at training and straight with a bar. Just so painful. Yeah. Again, no combined lineup, so I can't even do that. It would just be 11 Swansea players. I don't really see any reason why I would predict us to get anything out of that game. Maybe a week's training will help, but what changes would we make for the Swansea game next week?
Jarvis in, Burstow in.
Mm-hmm. So who are you dropping? You're dropping Pedro? Or are you going to up front? Because I think go to up front. But literally the big man, little man sort of thing. Pedro and Burstow. Although I think they're probably the same.
Burstow's taller than Pedro, I think.
And that's what I was implying. Burstow would get the knockdown, so Pedro to, as a poacher to knock it in, perhaps.
Well, I think.
Well,
up front's a shout. 4-4-2.
Make it simple. Sayers wants to make it simple for the players. Go 4-4-2.
Back to basics. Panda in goal. Drama comes in for Coyle just to get him out the firing line.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Jacob.
Jones comes in again for McLaughlin alongside Hughes. Matty Jacob in for Ryan Giles. Alzate and
Will Simons be back? He might be.
Simons or no? Will Simons be back? I don't know. Slater. Let's say Simons isn't back. Slater, Puerta, or Palmer.
Well, you've got to play Palmer, haven't you?
Yeah.
He didn't have a good game against Coventry, but he's done enough to get in ahead of the rest of them at the moment. Slater was very poor, as I said.
Yeah, Slater. So Alzate, Palmer in the middle, Kamara right, Jarvis left, Burstow, Pedro up top. There we go.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, of course, what one change I would make to that lineup, Joe.
You put Longman in the other.
I know he didn't do too much, but first 10 minutes of the second half, he put a good cross in and almost scored. But then one might say, of course, two good things over the course of 90 minutes doesn't mean you deserve to play. So,
two good things over the course of 90 minutes is more than we've had for most of the season.
Yeah, fair point. Will, what about yourself?
Drama in for Coyle just to give him a rest and just to give him a rest. McLaughlin replaced with Jones, as said. Bairstow in probably. I would do Bairstow in, and I'm going to be annoying and awkward. I say I'd put him in out wide.
Yeah, I mean he's not
just for Longman because go away Longman.
In other news,
first from a yard out. How did he miss that header?
bit of a tight angle. He was pretty close, but
A tight angle. He was a yard out.
precisely because it was on the side. Well, at least especially.
Are you
in my
going to claim it
glasses.
was an absolutely genius assist?
Of course I am. Bring in the strike.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
In other news, I didn't watch any of the first half. I listened to the goal on the radio back in the car because I'm going to bring it back to the academy again. The 18s won 4-2 and they were class.
That's nice.
It is very nice. I actually watched a team win a game at home for once in my life.
Who's the under-18s manager? Just
David
provide-
Myler.
Oh yeah. We'll get Milo and Dawson in the the dugout with Sellés.
Dawson is in the dugout with Sayers.
I know, to get Milo in there with him as well.
No, because then the
Where's
under
Nick
18s will have the
Barmby?
manager.
Yeah.
Where's Nick Barmby? Get Barmby involved.
Yeah, until the end of the season. Yeah. Oh dear.
Do you not think if Barmby wanted to be involved, he'd be involved by now?
Yeah, I'm sure you would. I can hear you shouting from downstairs, John, because I think there's a bit of a delay on the live stream. I can hear my parents watching it downstairs. That was very loud. Ben says, play Milo alongside Arzate. Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah.
He's still got it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not too sure he does, to be fair, but yeah. Shall we do a score prediction?
Yeah, I suppose so. Will.
I
Oh,
don't.
this is
You're not
easy,
allowed.
3-0.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to. We want. For the first time, I'm going to veto that. I know you'll re-veto it, but
I don't
Can
give
I
a
have
damn.
can
It's
I have the
3-0.
honest prediction?
3-0.
Because we are rock bottom of
3-0.
the league. We've not won in 13 games. We've not scored 3. In the 13 games as well.
Right, okay.
Um,
Yeah, I understand your point. Right, fair enough. I completely understand. What I'm going to go for here is Hull City Association Football Club 3, Swansea City Association Football Club 0.
Yeah. Is it association or is it FC?
I don't care. I've called them that.
Yeah.
I've changed their name. I'm as bad as EHAB.
It's close enough, isn't it? Close enough. Max says Hull win. Nonsense. Toast says 2-0 City. Nonsense. Ian says 2-0. That's nonsense.
To be fair.
Coxie says 2-1 Swansea. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Get behind that. Yeah, 2-1 Swansea. And you know who's going to score both goals, don't you? It was Josh Timon.
Yeah. Kieran says 1-1.
What own goals as part of a 3-0 win for Hull City?
Nonsense. Enship says 1-0 City. Delusional. I'm going to go 2-1 Swansea win. Cullen and time.
I really hope Hull City win more than normal because you're just being a negative twat.
Oh, I'm being a negative Nelly because we're rock bottom of the league and we haven't won a game in 13. I mean,
No, it's more the fact that you're insulting fans who are predicting us to win. Is more the case.
Yeah, but it's difference, isn't it? A difference between predicting and wanting us to win. Because, based on what? Based on what are we predicting?
Well, you openly admit you didn't see the Watford game where we played quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the highlights. I know we played relatively well in that game. Still drew because the defence is, not good. I mean, if Sayers can get the defence sorted out, I think that's the main thing we need to do. Because, you can scrape a 1-0, but I think with the players we got up front, you wouldn't want to rely on them scoring multiple goals a game. The defence is the main thing I think we've got to sort out because the amount of chances, yes, we conceded only 2 against Coventry, but could have been a lot more.
Shall we finish by doing something, by highlighting, because I've been very keen to draw attention to the fact that the chairman is not immune from criticism.
Oh, God.
So, and this is probably going to get us cancelled or something.
I'm not involved in this.
Okay, then we'll. Can I just outline, please, that Adjun is not immune from criticism. If anything, he is he's as much to blame, if not more to blame, for 24 and the 24-25 season, because he employs his brain team to do recruiting, which has been shocking. He employs Tim Walter. He went for it in January when we didn't have to, and thus left us in a worse position, because then Rossini was expected to deliver, and then when Rossini didn't deliver, he sacked him, and he was the single veneer of competence masking whatever Adjan has done afterwards, and we need to hope Rubén Sellés can do the same thing. And it's I like that comment. You can't say that because he takes the fans on holidays. I think you are statistically more likely to give him an easy ride if he takes you on holiday, but I am not going to do that, because
He took you on holiday.
because yes, he has taken me on holiday, but I can be perceptive in my analysis.
Oh, does that make you a better fan then?
Oh, let's have the better fan competition, shall we? Who's got more shirts? Jesus Christ. Just
I agree with that.
We're bottom.
The point is, we're bottom of the league 3 years on from when Adjan bought us. It's a month shy of 3 years. We have spent loads of money, had massive squad churn year on year on year, and the wage bill has skyrocketed, and we are, in terms of league position now anyway, no better off. And at that point, I think you have to sort of reflect on this is the situation as we find ourselves. Not everything's as fantastic under Adjan as everyone believes it to be. He's got 2 appointments right, we think. In appointing Rossini, that was a win when it first happened, and appointing Rubén Sellés. But if you say, right, he's got 2 managerial appointments right, that sounds on the surface of it great. But when you take into account he's had 5 managers during his stint at the club, one of whom he didn't appoint, is the merchandise is good. Love me my Kappa tracksuits. The match day ticket prices are fantastic. The memberships are good, well priced. Stuff like that has been easy wins. But in terms of footballing stuff, whenever he's got involved, it has typically, unless it's been to secure a player the manager desperately wants, or a player who's impacted like Carvalho did, even though we didn't need him, he scored 12 goals. The footballing side hasn't been great. And the 3 years is significant because you compare that 3 years to the first 3 years under the Alams, and I'm not saying Adjan and the Alams are in any way comparable before anyone gets on my back, but after 3 years of the Alams, we had made steady progress year on year on year, and it was visible. At the minute, you can't see such progress. But
it's a bit of a lottery, isn't it, at the moment? Whether it's going to be a good or a bad season.
No matter who bought the club, because they took over from the Alams after it turned so sour, was always going to be hailed as a hero. And now, and yeah, I'm guilty of that, absolutely. But I think there just needs to be a little bit of step back from all the off-field stuff and the fact he's not the Alams. Just because he's not the Alams doesn't mean we can't criticise mistakes he has made, of which there have been a fair few.
Yeah. I'd say that's very reasonable, Joe. I think you can probably separate the issues on the pitch and the good things he's done off it. And we want to keep all the sort of positive things he's done off the pitch with the communication and the scran and the kits and the merchandising, that sort of thing, and maybe expanding the club's horizons, perhaps. But he just needs people around him, like Jared Dublin, perhaps, to make the right football decisions for him. Of course, he should, as an owner, every owner, because they put the money in, they should have quite a big say on who the manager's going to be. But I think it's the transfers in particular. He needs to have some people who sort of know more about football than he does, because he's a fan, but he keeps saying he's a fan, rather than like a he's not a football person, is he? He's a media person.
He said himself he comes from the streets.
Yeah, so he needs to be surrounded by people who know what they're doing.
That's a quote. He said, "I come from the streets." So expect an Adjun Christmas rap coming out on Christmas Eve.
Okay. Well,
it will never be better than Slutsky singing Christmas songs.
That just reminded me of that. Well, actually, that was quite good.
Well, I've seen the comments about me being a miserable old git tonight.
You are a miserable old git.
You know, as we head towards Christmas, I think perhaps, even though we've not won a game, perhaps it's time to bring back the combined lineup. So I've made one. So hopefully this will.
Oh no! How many Hull City players are not in it?
Well, just you wait. No, it's valid. It's got Hull City players in it. Of course, podcast listeners will not be able to see what I've done here. But
fuck you, fuck you. I don't care. Fuck you.
So it's 10 Swansea players and Longman. Yeah.
Bring back the old grumpy bastard.
Yeah, this is worse, isn't it? This has got worse somehow. I hope some people appreciate that. Yeah. Toast says laugh emoji. That's fun. Yeah. It's added a little bit of a glint in Joe's eye there. It's we've all got a smile on our face. Not that I can see Will's, but
it's a grimace, Nathaniel. It's not a smile.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Steve here says he's mentioning about Ajun's dealings in Turkey. I think one of the main reasons why there's extra criticism is because
we're not priority anymore.
Precisely. And even if maybe everything was
only
exactly
enough,
the same,
that's when the issues really became obvious. It's funny that.
Precisely. I mean, maybe if we believed this was the best he could be doing, and it was clear that he was putting 100% of the time into this club rather than Fenerbahce, maybe you could be a little bit more lenient. But
90% Fenerbahce, 10% Hull City.
Yeah, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And as for someone who used to know exactly what to say at the right time, it's not a good look on, from a PR perspective that things are going so bad. And it's like he sort of discarded us partly because he's got the job he really wanted, which is Fenerbahce. Yeah. So 3-0 City win next week, and then 5 quality signings in January. That'll do me nicely. Anything else to mention before we move on?
No.
Well, that's another thing. Why have we released so many kits? Because we had that white kit as well. We've actually got more kits than wins this year.
The white out lifestyle jersey?
It's not a kit.
That's not a kit.
Is it not a kit? Doesn't it have the emblem on it? No, I guess we're not actually going
to
be wearing
4 kits this season, which is still more wins than wins we've got this season.
Yeah, true.
Need to start wearing the anniversary kit again. It's the only time we won at home was wearing that kit.
Oh my god, that is so depressing.
Yeah, we've not won in our home kit yet, and it's almost 2025.
We have won in our home kit.
Not at home, no. Sorry, quite right. We've of course won away.
We've won twice in our home kit, just neither of them at home.
Yeah,
we could have won the third kit both of those times.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. See if
Joe. There'll probably be another episode before Christmas,
Yeah, but
Are you not going to bother with that?
If we lose against Swansea, yeah. No.
No, he doesn't want to get bullied by comments again for being a bit downbeat.
No.
A bit?
Not again.
He's almost as upset as you were when we lost 8-0 to Wigan.
Oh, no. No one would be. That's not possible. It's not possible.
Well,
Joe,
that was a moment in time, wasn't it?
Yeah. thanks for joining me and everyone commenting in and criticizing me. That's good. We appreciate all the different views. So
It's nice seeing the criticism go from just me to everyone else.
Yeah, spread it out a bit. That's
spreading the Christmas cheer.
yeah. I really do hope we win next week. Obviously, I'm not
sure. I'll be quite honest. I am not sure.
No, there's a lot of people I think that would you could point out and maybe say, oh well, you want us to lose, so you can complain. But I don't enjoy it. I mean, I want to do a proper combined lineup, but I've sort of put myself down. I'll say, oh, we'll only do one if we win. So I want to do one. I enjoy doing that. I just have to keep these stupid ones. At least Nathaniel will be on Longman's Christmas card list. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
I'm not sure about that. Nathaniel might try and trace the address back.
Would it been try?
Would you like me to go and see Ryan Longman with a Christmas card and ask him to write in it for you?
No, that's okay, Joe. That's okay.
Just one for your birthday next year, then. Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
Just for my birthday, special day. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week.